Well, hello everyone. Tonight we have a special guest, Anne Abernathy. She's an Olympian, and she's not just an Olympian. She's been around the Olympian circuit 6 times, and she's actually looking at doing the 7th in 2028. If she is, she will be the oldest Olympian in history to compete. And I believe she's got the ability, and with the use of the light for PBM, red light therapy, whatever you want to call it, she's probably has a good chance of scoring really well. She just finished, as you'll hear, the scoring the 80th, it's world time champion in one of the groups. It's phenomenal. Anyways, I better not steal the show here. And we also have a winner from last, and Faith is going to put it up. We have a winner that won from last month one of these machines. So that would be the Palm Ultimate that was won. So we'll be posting that shortly, and congratulations. So now we're just going to go to our opening. The person, yes, that's correct. It's Ronald O'Keefe from Ohio. So congratulations, Ronald. Glad you were able to win, and I know already that you have helped a number of people with your light. So yeah. Great that you were able to win. Okay, now we're going to start with the video. Go for it.
15 years back, I realized that light could make a huge difference on the body. I ended up designing this very powerful light using LED technology. With this amount of very high power density, it can reach through the tissues and travel right to the joints. But the key is that the power density and the area is extremely important to deliver that light into that. The mitochondria receives that light and converts that energy into the cell. So it's like giving the cell super high octane fuel, and they run like a jet, and they're able to do all the things for repair in that. What are the products we have? Well, we have a small device, which is actually large when it comes to light therapy. You have a fairly large area of light and a high power density that can be used for different parts of the body, like your finger, shoulder, back, neck, knees, ankle, anywhere on the body. And then we have what's called the mini canopy, which is about 1 foot square in size. And then we have our full-size canopy, which is basically 6 of the mini canopies. And then we have another device, which is the helmet, and that device can help for mental issues, for brain injuries, for concussions, for PTSD, TBI, all of those kinds of things. And there's new research out there that shows it could be helpful for not only strokes, but dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, and just different brain issues. Our plans are to move this technology into every area of the world where there's pain and inflammation, which is basically everywhere, and to expand that so people understand all the applications where this technology can be used to help them in their health in the body as a wellness device. People are looking for how they can treat themselves without drugs.
So I'm going to be introducing Anne Abernathy, and we're going to go for it. But I just want to mention that we were able to record this earlier today. She's involved in elections, and I guess if you're in California and you haven't voted yet, drop my program, and or on the Western states, drop watching my program, or you could leave it running in the car, but get over and vote. There is such it's going to be so very, very important in my mind to have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be Robert Jr., I guess is the proper terminology, but to have him backing the medical, new medical, not the old ways. And I think he would be fantastic. So anyways, and that can all happen if you make a good vote. So get out there and vote if you haven't done it yet already. Anyways, all the best. And now we're going to go into our interview with Anne Abernathy, all-time world champion. Right? Let's go. Well, hello there, Anne.
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
Good, good. So this is Anne Abernathy, who has been on the Olympic field doing some pretty crazy stuff. I don't know, how fast is it that you go down those ice troughs or whatever you call those, the
Well, they call them tracks.
tracks?
Yeah, it depends on the track. There are different speeds, but we can get up to 100, over 100 miles an hour, 3 inches above the ground.
Yeah,
But
on a little tiny sled.
yeah, the sled fits the seat, the pod that you sit on. They're all custom. It's from the back of your knees to your shoulders. That's it.
And you've been a champion. You've won with your team, right? This is
Well, no, that was when I did luge. I became the first woman to ever compete in 6 Winter Olympic Games.
okay. All
So,
right.
but no, I didn't win the Olympics. I'm from the Virgin Islands. Trust me, if I had won the Olympics, I'd have my own movie by now.
Okay, but in order to compete and to get into that sport, that's a huge job. That's a total commitment to physical strength and ability and right
Well, and travel, because
and
in
travel.
order to do luge, you have to go to where the luge tracks are.
Ah, okay. So these are cold places. Generally.
Cold. And when I first started, a luge track cost like 35 million. Now they're just unbelievable. They're combination bobsled and luge tracks now. But I've switched to archery, and there's still a lot of travel involved, but at least I don't have to be in the cold weather,
Oh,
and I'm not
yes.
going to hit an ice wall and break a bone.
Oh,
So
I don't know, going 100 miles an hour, hoping that the sled stays on track and you end up coming out the bottom end in one piece it's got to be a faith walk.
well, I've had crashes. I did it for almost 30 years. When you're in 6 Olympics, that's a long time. And I didn't start till I was older. I actually, when I started my first Olympics, I was 33. And at that time, it was thought that if you were 30, you retire.
Okay.
Nobody ever told me that. So, my first Olympics, I was 33, and nobody really knew that I was 33 until they announced my age in the practice run at the Olympics. And then everybody went crazy and they said, "You're 33?" And I said, "Yeah." And what's wrong with that? And one of the German athletes got up and he put his hands, he crossed his hands and he looked at me and he said, "Anne, you're too old to luge." And I said, "George, I wasn't 5 minutes ago." So, it's just a mental thing.
That's funny. That's funny. So you started when you're 33?
That was my first Olympics. I started when I started the sport, practicing the sport when I was 28, 29.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
practicing for the event. And then when did you switch over to archery?
Well, my last Olympics in luge was in Torino, 2006. And at that Olympics, I did crash. I had a major crash the day before the competition in the final practice runs, and broke my scapula, literally broke my scapula in two, and couldn't even raise my arm. So as therapy for that, they had me work with a physical therapist, and I was doing a lot of stuff, repetitive motions. And I went, going to a therapist office and doing physical therapy, that's great for some people, but if it mocks, looks like another movement that I could do and have more fun with, I would do it. And so I ended up trying archery,
Okay.
mainly as physical therapy for my back.
Okay.
And then I got to be pretty good at archery. And then I thought, well, I looked it up and I saw that the oldest woman to ever compete or in the summer games did so at the age of 63. And I thought, wow, I'm already the oldest woman to ever compete in the winter games.
Right.
So I thought, why not try it? And then so I started, we started the Virgin Island Archery Federation, and I started, after 1 year, I was in my first World Cup, and I've been on the World Cup circuit ever since. As of yesterday, I'm 81st ranked in the world. So, and I've got a Pan American title and a World Championship title.
And may I ask how old you are right now?
I am 71.
Okay, 71 and still.
Yeah, I passed the 63. 63 would have been the Rio games.
Okay.
And I just missed out qualifying for Rio. Just missed out qualifying for Paris.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got some new equipment. I've got PBM.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, my average arrow score has gone up a whole point. I was 7.4 per average arrow, and now I'm 8.4 per average arrow. So I've made this tremendous leap. And I believe that it is because of two things. I changed just the limbs on my bow, and I've been using PBM.
Now, just going back a step, when you had that crash, they didn't have PBM back then. There was no knowledge.
No, that was in 2006.
Yeah, and wouldn't that have made a difference? Knowing what you know now, that would have really helped your recovery.
Probably, but it wasn't there, so I can't think of what could
Right.
have or should have been.
Right.
But
right.
I, as an elite athlete, we're limited on the medications and the things that we can do. I was telling you earlier that I have trigger finger, and one of the standard procedures for that is an injection of steroid right into the hand where the trigger finger is. And the problem with that is because we're on the elite level, we're subject to be tested at competitions. And there is a 90-day washout period for that special
to leave the body.
To leave the body. So I've been using PBM for me to be able to compete and to use on my hands. Same thing happened with COVID. I had COVID. I had COVID 3 times, and in all told, I've had it 6 times. But I, after my 4th time, and went into long haul COVID.
Right.
And I tried everything, absolutely everything. And I'm a firm believer in PBM because I was in a clinical trial with Dr. Robert Bowen. I think you may know him.
No,
I was in a clinical trial using PBM for people that had brain fog from long haul COVID. And I didn't think there was anything that could be done. And the first day, the first session that I had in the clinical trial, they did testing. They put wires on my head for an EEG, and I did like cognizant testing, memory and words and math and whatnot. And then I went and was under PBM light for 13 minutes, just 13 minutes. I came back afterwards and I felt a little different, but I thought, well, maybe it's just placebo effect. Maybe it's, maybe I'm just imagining that I feel better.
No.
But then they tested me again, 13 minutes after 13 minutes of treatment. And I went through the brain test and the cognitive and the memory and all of that. And then Dr. Bowen showed me the side-by-side EEGs, and I was feeling better, but I could visually see on the brain scans the difference and how parts of my brain lit up after just 13 minutes.
And that was
And I was
that was in the Novathor bed. Like that's where you did the Novathor bed.
I did the bed. They had some people doing the bed and some people doing a helmet.
Right.
But
But
that totally convinced me that PBM was the way to go.
well, as a matter of fact, Dr. Bowen, when I had my COVID in January of 2022, I contacted him after I started treatment because we already knew that this could help for lungs. And so I had the mini canopy that would do my, whole lung area in one shot in the front and one in the back. And my blood oxygen was 80%. So I was really in bad shape. And I went to the hospital and they confirmed that I had double lung pneumonia, really bad. And it was interesting. They discharged me with that situation, if you can imagine, which was actually the best thing that could have happened from the emergency room because I was able to then immediately start the light treatment on my lungs. And I remember having how much better my lungs were doing or at least the oxygen levels were now coming up. In 2.5 weeks, my oxygen was at around the low 90s. But I start coughing so bad. And I thought at that point, I'm getting worse. So I went back to the hospital. They did another set of x-rays and they went through things and they said, your blood's good, your heart's good, but your lungs are exceptional compared to the x-rays that were 2.5 weeks earlier. So it just showed the tremendous improvement that I had. But I remember calling him and calling Bob and Dr. Bowen and saying, hey, look at what's happened with my lungs. And the funny part was I had still such bad brain fog. I couldn't complete a sentence. I would get halfway through the sentence and I couldn't finish it. I was trying and, it eventually come out. But, when you're in that predicament, you don't really realize how bad you still are. And I remember talking to him and he said, you were fried, you were bad. And I remember him asking me, after I told him about lungs, he says, that's great that you're treating your lungs, but how are you treating your brain? And I said, I'm not. And he says, I can tell. So I started treating my brain with my skull with the mini canopy at that point. And then I had improved dramatically from the long COVID. And then I developed the helmet that you probably saw online that we've used. And I developed it kind of for myself as well to keep improving my situation. But then we found how many other people improved as well along the way. But the light, so you've been using so you did that with the COVID and the light, and it was great to be under that trial because they brought out all the good equipment to measure your analysis. I forget how many people, I think it was 8 people, wasn't it, or something like that?
I think it was like 24. It was, and then somebody dropped out.
I might be mixing it with another study then, but
no, it was 23 or 24.
Okay, but
it's interesting because I knew nothing about it. I found out about it. It's a crazy story. I'm in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and I'm training in archery now at a church. They have the church has a lot of land they're building out, and they actually built a range, private range for me to use, and they've done a lot of things. They put cameras up and they mow it for me. It's great. But I was at a Bible study there,
right?
And at Bible studies they ask for prayers if you have any prayer requests, and I said I have long haul COVID, and I'm trying to train here. I'm trying to train for the Olympics on the elite level, and I can't. I can't get over the COVID. And after the Bible study, a lady came up to me with a piece of paper with the information for the clinical trial.
Oh my
The
gosh, she
clinical
had it
study.
on her. She had it on her.
Well, she was a nurse, and she
Okay.
knew about it. She had heard about it because she's at the Berkeley Medical Center, and she knew about it. She gave me the phone number and said, and it was actually a photocopy of the sheet that was going around the hospital because they were trying to find people that had it. I called the next day and I started the trial 2 days later, and it's all because of the Bible study. It was crazy.
I love how God works these things through. Lines up the dots, make sure you end up at the same study this nurse is at, and then you
Yeah,
know.
and it's because I ended up at the church. I ended up at the church because for some reason I woke up in the middle of the night and looked at my GPS. Opened up on my phone, and I said, I have to find a place to train. There's no archery center here. And so I looked for big green areas that was close to where I was staying. There's a lady hosting me here, and there's this big green area. And so I zoomed in on it, and it said Airborne Church, and I went,
Airborne church.
Airborne Church, yeah. And
I
there's two
love it.
pastors, husband and wife pastor, and they owned an airfield that they sold, and they built the church. And
But I even the name, I get a laugh out of. What are you counting on? Air for your, the right currents of air and everything when you shoot. For those that
yeah,
don't know archery, tell me, what is it that you have to practice? What's your practice look like, and what are you trying to shoot as far as how far away, how accurate are you trying to get?
well, the Olympic distance is 70 meters, which is 3/4 the length of a football field.
Okay.
So, and I'm shooting at a target. If you see this target behind me, this is just the inside rings of the target
Okay.
that I'm trying to shoot. But
And how big would that target be? How big would that target be?
it's 122 centimeters. The whole target itself is like 4x4. There's a big.
There you go. You can, if you put your hand back there, it focuses on. It starts.
Oh, really?
Oh, it did. But anyways, just the way you moved, and no, it's not going to work for us. But anyways,
Okay.
So you're trying to hit. There's lines on it.
Obviously, trying to hit the gold.
And how big is the gold area?
It's smaller than a DVD, than a CD.
Okay.
Smaller than that. The tin ring in the middle of it.
So that's shooting at 70 meters. You said
70 meters. Yeah.
And you're trying to hit, trying to get as close to the center of a.
Yeah, it's about the size of a softball.
Okay.
If I put a softball in there, so if I was hanging a softball trying to hit it, that's about the same size.
Okay. Wow.
So
okay.
Bigger than a tennis ball, smaller than a basketball. Think softball.
Yeah. So you have to take into account even small breezes, all that kind of stuff when you're trying to shoot, right?
Oh yeah, because to go that distance, you have to shoot an arc, and when there's any sort of wind whatsoever, the arrows are very light to be able to go that distance, and so it's yeah, I'm amazed when I go to a tournament. There can be up to 300 people on the line shooting, and it's like in the movies where they're storming the castle, and when they have the women shooting, and then they have the men shooting in a different session. And I've gone up into the bleachers and just looked when they blow the whistle to start, and to see 150 men shooting arrows all at the same time, and they all hit the target 70 meters away. It's mind-blowing to me. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And then I go, but you're doing that. And I went, yeah, it's mind-blowing. It's crazy. And
So
the crazy
what-
thing about it is I'm doing it at the age of 71.
Right. So when you're pulling the bow, what kind of force are you pulling against?
Well, they're different draw weights, and
Okay.
my draw weight is 42 pounds.
42
So I'm
pounds.
pulling and holding 42 pounds before I let go. Yeah.
And when you're doing practices, how many of those do you do? How many of those pulls do you do?
Uh, it depends. I shoot well over 1,000 arrows a week. And some days I do 140, 144 arrows, and some days I do 300, 3 to 400. It depends on, what my schedule is that day. It's
Okay.
kind of like going to the gym where you alternate doing your legs and then your upper body.
Right.
I will focus on different things, and I will. So I'm not constantly doing the same thing, but I'm always aiming to improve.
Right.
But
Now,
it's a lot of repetition, which is why I'm having trouble with the hands.
right. And you've been using, I think you have one there. You've been using one of our palm lights.
Yeah, I use this.
And tell us a little bit of how you use it. Like what do you do with it? And
Wait,
how, yeah.
As you well know, there are lots of PBM things. This I travel with 2 or 3 PBM devices. This is one of my go-to. I use this in the morning and at night. I use it at night primarily on my hands, and it's got, as you know, it's got 2. This is the I'm trying to
That's
get
a
it so it
super
doesn't
palm
count.
model. Yeah, so that you can see.
Yeah, so this
This is 1050 nanometer
you can
wavelength.
see it more in the image than you can really. This is the I don't know where all the frequencies are, but you have that, and then you have this very bright.
Yeah, that's the
Bright
660
one.
nanometer. So that's the super palm that has the 660 and the 1050 nanometer. 1050, when you look at it, is totally invisible, but the camera can actually pick it up on
The camera picks it up better
but
than
when you look at it,
in
you
my
can't
eye.
see it at all. Yeah, there is
But
one little red light there, the indicator.
trying to get so that I'm on the camera. I use this on my forearm because the forearm is connected to the hand
Right.
and the trigger finger.
And
So
what would
I use
what
it
would
here
be
and
a
I use
treatment time? Like what do you find is a good treatment time that you've been working on for that?
Well, I actually do this when I go to bed at night, and I do 10 minutes on the right hand, 10 minutes on the left,
Okay.
and I'm actually moving it back and forth, and I alternate. One day I will do, and I don't know what they are. One night I will do it where it's the to me I call it the invisible light,
Yeah, yeah. The
and then
invisible
the other
and the other
night,
one's the bright red.
then the
Yeah.
other one is the very bright because I don't know which one does the best, so I just do both.
Right.
And because I also use it on my chest right now because I'm recovering from my 6th COVID.
You have a
And
lightning rod for COVID? Is that what you have?
well, I travel a lot. This last COVID, I think I picked up at a world ranking event in Argentina 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks
Okay.
ago. And I didn't know, I came back. I was having real trouble with my lungs. I'm still having trouble with my lungs. Went to a pulmonologist last week and had tests done, and they say, yeah, you're abnormal. Thanks. So I'm assuming.
I knew that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Everybody knows me says that. So I'm going to pulmonologist, but, and that's one reason I want to use the canopy because the canopy I've had lung problems because, I have a history of lymphoma. I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, and as an elite athlete, I can't take medications. I can't take most of the stuff that you normally take for your lungs, because it's banned.
Right.
So, to be able to have PBM and see results, it's the canopy, doing
Yeah,
that every
for
day
those that
makes a
are
huge
wondering,
difference.
it's this device in the background that you see here. Only this is the mini canopy, and the canopy that they have in West Virginia is six of those devices. So you do a very large area in one shot, and you've been able to be under that. That's a beautiful machine over
It's a
there.
great machine, and using that machine, I literally went in 5 days a week, and I would do one side one day and then flip over and do the other side the other day, the next day. So I was flipping back and forth, and that the canopy does both lights.
Yes,
So it goes in between the two different lights. So
two
I don't
different
have to sit there and
wavelengths.
figure out which one is the one that's working. I just have both of them.
Yeah, no,
And
both of them are very beneficial. Just the near infrared penetrates deeper, but the other one, the bright red, is very, very beneficial to the blood. So that's why we use both wavelengths. And so I can't imagine a better thing that you're doing than what you're currently doing at the university. That's great.
yeah, well, I haven't been able to do that. When I got the COVID, I was trying to decide. Um, I was in isolation, and then when I got over the isolation, over that time period, I had one more tournament, outdoor tournament left, and it was the Huntsman World Games, which this year for the first year is a world champion title. And I really, really wanted to go because I was the defending champion. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. And you recommended that I get back under the canopy. Well, I didn't have a membership at Shepherd, but I called and I said, when I first wanted to do this, you offered a trial period, and I didn't take the trial period. I just paid for the whole month. But I'm going to take you up on those 2 trial days. And they scheduled me at like 6 o'clock in the morning for two days. And I did that 2 days, one on one side, one on the other side. And I was told that it would help trigger the memory and get everything working in my body. And then after doing that, the next day was Sunday morning. It was the day I was supposed to fly out, and I hadn't made my decision the night before. That morning, I went, go ahead and get on the plane. And it was a red eye to Vegas, and the competition was in Utah. And I drove to Utah. Practice was that Monday, and I couldn't last the practice. I could only shoot 18 arrows in practice. It was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I had this with me, and I just on my lungs. I kept moving it that night, all over my lungs. The next morning I woke up, all over my lungs. And it was official practice. No, that Tuesday, it was the first day of the competition. And all of a sudden, when I got up that morning, I was feeling so much better. I did the lungs again. I did my hands. I went out there, and it was a 2-day competition. And after the first day, I was in first place.
Yeah.
Not by a couple of arrows, but by almost 100 arrows. It was unbelievable. And I went, well, I'm in first place now, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it for a second day. So I went home and I did it again. Used this all over my lungs.
Yeah.
Did my hands again. Woke up the next morning, repeated the process, went out there, and I didn't shoot quite as well, but neither did the other people. And I ended up winning, and I won the world championship, the Huntsman World Games World Championship.
That is
I didn't just win my division. I won the overall. I outscored everyone else.
How many people are we talking about in this competition?
Well, it's the world. People come from all over the world. So I'm not sure what the total number is. I know there were over 150 that were there. So, but I was just totally focused on shooting, and I didn't care about anything else around me. I couldn't do the social things. People knew that I had COVID, so people were staying away from me, even though I wasn't contagious anymore. And so I was like in my own bubble, but I pushed myself to the limit. But PBM allowed me to push myself to the limit. And then when I flew back that night, I felt it. I mean, I was exhausted.
Oh
I had
yeah, for sure, for sure.
totally, and my body was exhausted because COVID takes a lot out of you. And while this is a very amazing thing, it helps and it relieves and it helps in your healing. It doesn't necessarily miraculously cure you.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
so I had pushed it, and I didn't have COVID, but definitely in my lungs,
Yeah,
because I am susceptible because of my long history with Hodgkin's.
right, right.
So
Wow, this has been absolutely fantastic to get this interview from you and with you, and thank you so much. And you know, it just I am pretty sure that knowing a little bit about you, you started every morning in prayer as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, if I don't start the morning, I definitely finish the evening.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do want to add just one more thing. One of the reasons I went to that tournament was I had set a goal. Um, I mean, I just missed out on qualifying for Paris Olympics, and I thought, do I continue? One of the reasons I was doing well was, as I told you earlier, was because I changed a part of my equipment. I got new
Right.
limbs, and my decision on whether to continue was dependent on my last two competitions, two big competitions. One, I won the Pan Am title, and the last one was the one where I won the world title, the Huntsman world title. So there are two things I need to get the financial stability to be able to go. So the financial support, but I don't want to make a run and stay competing unless I know that I'm good enough. Well, I believe I'm good enough. And so I've committed to train for the LA 2028 Olympics.
Oh wow, you're going for another run.
I'm going for another run. And if I go, and when I qualify, I will become the oldest person, not just the oldest woman, but the oldest person to ever compete in any Olympics, winter or summer,
Wow.
in the history of the Olympics. Yeah. So
I also want to add in here, if there are those that are watching this video that have the wherewithal to support Anne and her quest to be at the 2028, please contact me. We'll connect you to Anne, no problem.
yeah, it'll be a historic run,
Yeah,
whether I make it or not. I mean, every time I go to a competition now, I'm making history because
yeah.
I'm the oldest one out there.
Wow.
So
This and so this basically PBM has been able to help you keep going.
yes, yeah. If I didn't have the PBM and didn't, I wouldn't make the run. I wouldn't make the run. Because it's portable. The canopy does the whole body. This lets me go where I need to go with the body. If my shoulder is aching after a practice, I'm able to use this. So yeah, I said there were two things I needed. One was to know that I was good enough, and two was to be financially stable. But the other thing is the PBM.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Anne, once again, thank you again for being on our webinar, and I'm sure folks are going to find this extremely interesting. And again, if anybody's out there that can support Anne, contact me and we'll connect. So all the best to everyone. And Anne, God's richest blessing on you and your next future games in 2028. I think it's very possible.
It's a long road to get there. I'm going to take it 1 year at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, bye for now. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. Again, we're talking about how light can make such a difference on the body. And even when one's challenged with long COVID, the possibility of helping the body, whether it be the lungs or other areas of the body, to brain fog, to improve. So I'll just do a little bit of a commercial here now at this point. So we have different units. We have the, let me just put my glasses on here for a minute. We have the professional. It has the two wavelengths of the 660 nanometer and the 810 nanometer light. And with this wavelength, I can actually see the light much like you can see it on the screen. Then we have the next version up, which is the Ultimate. The Ultimate has 25% more power out of both the red 660 and the 810 near infrared. So that's the Ultimate. And then we have our latest device, which is the Super Palm 1050, which has the 660 nanometer. Same power as what the Ultimate is, but it has the instead of the 810 nanometer, it has 1050. And in this case, I can look at it and it's totally invisible. But what you'll see on the web, you'll actually see the purplish dots. So you can't see it with your eye, but you can see it with the camera. So that's the Super Palm. And then we have the mini canopy here, which is the one that's actually 15 times the area that we have of the Palm with the same power density. So you have the 660 nanometer wavelength there. And what you'll notice is the close proximity of the high power LEDs. And what that does is it creates a very, very uniform light field in front of this. So there's no hot spots, unlike other types of panels that just have higher amounts of energy in different places. Whereas this is very, very continuous. So if I took a light meter and went across this whole panel, I would find it's extremely even, the light that's coming out of it. And so there's not a porcupine effect with just a few spots of light, but very continuous. So that helps actually to penetrate deeper because of the very close proximity, even amount of light. And then we have the 810 nanometer. You can barely see it on there, but it's there, and that penetrates deep like the professional or the Ultimate with the 810. And we also have a 1050 version, I should say, on special order. And then we have the helmet here. And the helmet is the two wavelengths as well, 660 and the 810. And this just lowers down on top of the head like that. And that's the 660. And then we have the 810. And you might be able to see some little dots in there. There you go, showing you the 810. And we have a premium version as well. We call it the Super Helmet, which is the 1050 nanometer wavelength. So those are different devices. Now I will say as you see in this picture, that's the mini canopy that I just demonstrated. But we also have the full out large canopy, which is 6 of these devices, side by 3 and 3, 2x3 array, that can cover a whole area of the back and neck in one shot. So we have that as well. And that's our basically what we have. Now the We don't have a full bed, and the reason we don't have a full bed is because the amount of optical power that you have coming out of these devices is equivalent to the sun when you're out on the sun at noon, and it's pretty warm, and you couldn't have that coming from both top and bottom, or you would overheat in very short order. So what we do is we maximize the light penetration on one side. For a person, they might do a 20-minute treatment with 10 minutes of the red, 10 minutes of the near infrared, and then turn over, do another 10 minutes of the red and 10 minutes of the near infrared. The mini canopy is $5,900, and as I said, the full out canopy with stand and everything is 6 of these, and it's $35,000 for that. The helmet, as you saw there, is $6,500, or if you go for the super helmet with the 1050 nanometer wavelength, it's an additional $1,500 more. So that's our different devices, and we have some others in the works, which sometime I will show you in the next 6 months, some other interesting devices. But we are not looking at changing these devices. They work really, really well, and so that will be a staple of our product. But we're also looking at the possibility of treating inside the mouth for different conditions, and hence that's some of the new developments that are coming. I can also tell you more recently, we've got some folks now out there that are treating with folks with dementia, and they have seen an improvement in their outcomes so far. I had one individual on one of my webinars, but more recently at one of the psychiatric clinics, they saw a significant improvement already in just within a few treatments. So very helpful by the looks of it for dementia, and there's other research out there for that. I almost forgot to mention, we do have a version that this device here, that what it allows you to do is it snaps in the front of the unit of the palm lights, and what that allows you to do is then have the light coming into your mouth so you can treat directly onto areas of inside the mouth. So that's called the oral probe, and it allows the wavelength, whatever wavelength, whether 660 or the 810 or 660, 1050, to come through the probe and be able to treat directly inside the mouth. The other option, obviously, is just to treat from the outside, which does have its losses going through the cheek, so longer treatment times are required. Generally, I'll just say a couple more things here as far as treatment times. This is general rule of thumb. If you're trying to treat your fingers, you're going to, or that kind of thickness of tissue, you're going to be looking at like 1 minute of the bright red and 1 minute of the near infrared. When you start going into deeper areas of the body, let's say the elbows or knees, you're going to have to spend longer. So maybe now you're with, let's say, elbows, you're up to 5 minutes of the red and maybe 10 minutes of the near infrared. And then you want to go all the way to hip, some hip issues or deeper other organ issues. You're going to be wanting to treat like in the order of 15 to 20 minutes on an area for trying to get in with a combination of the two wavelengths, with most of the time spent on the deeper penetration near infrared. So now also I'll start answering some questions here that are popping up. If we go to a country which is 220 instead of 110, 120, do we need a transformer to make this super palm work? No, you don't, because the adapter that we're using, all you would need, and most places have it, is a little, and we can also supply it, is a little device that plugs onto the front that changes the pins from these flat bladed pins to the round pin. So that's just a little piece that plugs on. Does not need a transformer because these power supplies that we're using are medical grade, and they work for the full voltage of 100 volts up to 240 volts. So no problem to go to any country in the world with our device. The other thing I will mention is that's really cool is we don't have a battery pack on this because we don't want to have a great big battery pack on the back of this to try and run it for an hour. So what we decided not to have batteries in there and run it off a power adapter. And the nice thing about that is you don't run out of power. There's no batteries to burn out or anything. So you just can run it. You can run it pretty continuously without any issues whatsoever. The LEDs are rated for 50,000 hours. So if you said 2,000 hours a year, that's going to take you out to 25 years. Now, things do happen, so we do have warranty on our devices. We have 1 year on our lower cost devices and 2 years for the Super Palm, the helmet, or the mini canopy. So, but coming back to the battery pack, without the battery pack, this device can go in your carry-on. It's small enough, and with the power adapter, you can bring it on without any issues whatsoever because there's no lithium batteries that can start a fire. So it's really nice to use, as well as we have started the PBM. I guess it'd be 5 Mile High Club, called Mile High Club. Is we've actually had people using their light, using our light, and getting treatment in the plane. So on the newer planes, they have the 110 volt power plugs. So yeah, there's you can run them. Now the only thing I'd say, hey, use the near infrared settings so you don't disturb the people around you. And another thing I mentioned is if you're a passenger in a car, this has no problem running off of those little, you can get these little devices that plug into your lighter socket and run for 120 volt. They give you 120 volts, so you could plug your adapter in and use it in the car. Now, I wouldn't suggest that if you're driving that you're using it, but definitely the passengers can, and treat different parts of their body while you're in your travels. So anyways, works very well. Do they come with instructions for use on different areas of the body? Because we don't have a specific, like you'd have to, for each, if you were going through FDA and Health Canada, if you wanted to put in the indication of treating an elbow, you could put all the details you want about that. But the unfortunate part is you could not use it then for treating your hands, because that's different. You couldn't use it for treating your skin. That'd be different again. So you'd have to run 100 studies before you could start saying all the different applications, exactly how the treatment should go. But for the most part, it's I'm not a medical doctor. This has just been suggestions that as people have been using the device, they've been able to see how this can help with speeding up the time. Okay, my dad, this is a question from Trish. My dad has a significant infection in his foot with a lot of swelling. Would red light help with speeding up the recovery time with antibiotics? Absolutely. We were able to take, even in one of the hospitals in Alberta, there was a woman that was going to, I've got the pictures for it, she was going to have her foot amputated. It was so bad. It really looked ugly, and they were going to amputate within a week. That woman, she got one of the lights, our Super Palm lights, and she was using it, treating herself in the hospital with 20 minutes of the light a day. And within the 1 week, they canceled the surgery And the other thing was that in 2 months, this very large area of the foot, which was in trouble, was now down to just a hole the size of a quarter. And then from there, it healed the rest of the way in another 2 months, and her foot was fully healed. So she was able to save her foot with the use of the light. So it helps speed up the blood flow. There's a whole pile of reactions that go on. By the way, there's on our website, we have under the research tab, if you go down to PBM 2024, that was the event that I went to England. I was interviewed there by a fellow by the name of Alex Fergus. And Alex, beautiful interview that he did. Well, I'm biased because he interviewed me, but it went extremely well. We were able to talk about a lot of things, and the interview is there. And also, I have posted the interview that Alex did with Dr. Michael Hamlin. He was originally from Harvard, and they had done, he's a world guru when it comes to light therapy, and I don't know how many years of research, got to be 30, 40 years of research in the PBM area. Very, very knowledgeable individual, and we get a chance to play his interview and with some commentary from myself. But I think you'd find that very interesting. It'll explain a lot of things. So yeah, we have a YouTube channel where we have everything there, or you can also go to our website, as Faith is posted there on SunPowerLED.com for the PBM 2024 under the research tab. There's also, for those that want to dig into research on different things, there's you go down in the research tab and you can look for PBM database, which gives you a lot of, well, there's over 7,500 research articles there, so you can just type in a particular thing that you're looking for, so, and just see what kind of research has been done for that indication. So I will, Jean is asking, are the guides, we do talk about how this is best used. Plus, as far as light therapy goes, lasers are something, and this is discussed in some of these, I especially suggest to listen to Michael Hamlin, but he talks about the safety of LED devices, far, far different than lasers. And so lasers, it's fairly easy to overdose, but with light therapy like this, it's quite easy to not to use it well and not have any problems with having too long of a treatment. Now, do I suggest people should fall asleep with the light, you know, on their body? No, I don't. I think that's unwise, but people have done it without problems. You know, so it's generally not a good idea. Also, you want to make sure that we have a cooling system. In order to have this amount of optical power, we have a cooling system on here where there's a built-in fan, and that fan moves the air through and cools everything. So you want to make sure the back area of the unit is free to move air through, as well as the front area. So definitely don't bury it in a pillow or under blankets or under a shirt. You want to keep that airflow going so that the unit can properly cool. So that gives you a little bit more on the devices themselves. Please reach out to us with your questions at info@sunpowerled.com. That's info@sunpowerled.com, and we'll try and answer your questions that you have. And I'm sure you're going to find how many different applications that this light can be used to treat parts of the body. And there's also just a large amount of information there if you want to go to our past videos where you can watch other doctors and researchers talking about how they've used it, and also like you heard tonight, where people themselves, how do they use it and what has it done for them. So anyways, all the best. Remember, if you're in, I guess the polls close in another 2 more hours in California, or western states, please remember to vote. It's extremely important. And I just thank everybody for joining us tonight, and wish you all of God's richest blessings. All the best. Bye for now.